How to mystically pray the Rosary with or without beads explained. You can use this video to understand how to pray the Rosary or other prayer beads with or without the beads. And this is an actual way to mystically pray it. I have previously written detailed articles on exactly how to pray the Rosary without beads, using the fingers of the hands as landmarks to count on in place of beads. Those articles have been very valuable in showing the exact contact points on the fingers and the hands, and in which locations to pray each part of the Rosary without using beads. And I'm doing a separate video on that, which you can find in my video channel, and also on my website. You'll see the article on the website prestonflatt.com. So this video we're doing today is explains the mystical side of it, how to mystically pray the Rosary. And I wanted to say this is just one new angle on things and shouldn't be mistaken as being the answer to life or what life is all about or anything like that. Be sure to read the disclaimers below this video and also on my website, and be sure to follow all those disclaimers, because each method of spiritual practice and discipline, it's unique for each individual person, and it might not be right for you. So there's some chance that maybe this wouldn't be right for you. So I can't say that it's for everybody, but it is the way that I practice, and I really have found great value in this. So you begin by setting up the mystic yoke or the mystic scale. When you're sitting down, you'll be able to feel where both sitting bones are resting upon the chair. There's one on the left and one on the right, and you can adjust your posture in such a way as to feel them both evenly in the place where you sit. When you sit in this way, even as you try to maintain that feeling of evenness at both sitting bones, you'll notice that that feeling of evenness will vary. It'll still actually fluctuate. You'll feel it drifting, sometimes too much to one side and sometimes too much to the other. And sometimes it takes you a moment or two to realize, oh, I've drifted that way or I've drifted that way. But you'll also notice that you can surf that place of balance. You can actually adjust your posture as you sit in the chair so as to continue to feel both of them evenly. The reason that you'll feel those changes and that changing balance is because life is not stagnant. It's always presenting itself to you, before you, in new ways. And as it continues to present itself, you'll tend to lean toward things that you like and lean away from things that you don't like. But now there's a way that you can surf this place between left and right. You can abide in this changeless place between opposites. To do this, you do this by simply using the frame of the human body as a tool to set up the equivalent of a mystic scale. It's not different than that yoke mentioned in Scripture. And you abide in this place between opposites while you pray the Rosary. So why do we start by using the sitting bones to set up the mystic scale or mystic yoke? It's not necessary to use these points, but we choose them in the beginning for a reason. When you first learn this, the sitting bones are used because you're already used to sitting. You're also used to having the weight of the entire upper body relaxed downward into the place where you sit. And so it is possible to be relaxed while sitting and to use just the tiniest bit of additional relaxation to surf or adapt the posture to abide in the center. So that's why this is good. Using the sitting bones, though, is a beginning way to learn. Later, you'll be able to choose other points that will allow you to move about freely while practicing, so that you'll be able to practice this spiritual exercise as you're going about your daily activities. You'll be able to practice this while you're standing, walking, and moving about. So this spiritual exercise teaches you to comfortably use relaxation to find and abide in the place between opposites, the place between left and right. And to abide in that place between opposites, surfing it, using the tiniest, most subtle movements. Now I'm going to tell you about this concept that only missings of the mark are considered movements. Strange as it might sound, when a person's off balance and they move toward balance, these movements toward balance are actually not considered movements. Mystically, they're considered to be non-movements. And that's because in mysticism, a restorative lean toward or into balance is not counted as actually leaning. It's not considered a movement for that reason. So mystically, only missings of the mark that create unfinished business or stirring up of the world of creation are considered movements. So when you go outward, it creates unfinished business and it stirs things up in the world. Some people call it karma, but basically it stirs things up. But when you return toward balance, that doesn't count as a movement, and that some people call it beyond karma, because for that very reason. So when you lean or return toward balance, this non-movement toward the mark, toward the bullseye, toward reconciliation is not missing the mark, and it is therefore not a movement. You could also say that it has a value of 0. And I just said this a minute ago, but those traditions that use the term karma would say that this spiritual practice is beyond karma because it doesn't create unfinished business. And it's not different from the inaction or the wu-wei in Taoist mysticism. This is because it's possible to surf and abide in this place steadily, even while externally appearing to move about in the world. In Christian mysticism, this is a way to be in the world, but not of the world. Practicing in this way as you go through life, even though you're moving right along with the rest of the world, all those movements are generated in holding to the one good thing and not departing from it. In all times and all places, the net change is 0. Even without doing this, though, I will explain to you later that you are always effortlessly abiding in the inescapable zone of being you. I wrote a different article on that, and I'm doing a few videos on it too that you can find on my channel. So now this is a mind blower, perhaps, and that is that this place is instructive. If you feel yourself leaning too much to the right or too much to the left, you will feel exactly when, where, and how much that departure occurs, and you will know exactly how to bring it back to evenness. And that's because this place is instructive. It's self-evident exactly how to correct it. It is self-evident exactly how to abide in me. They use the term abide in me, and the me doesn't mean me, the one that's sitting here delivering this lecture to you. No, it's when you point at yourself and you say me. And so it's self-evident exactly how to abide in me when you set up this scale. If you depart from it, you know exactly how to return. And because you know how to correct it, you also know something about the nature of the departure itself. So you know exactly, if you've been off, you know exactly what it took to bring it back and to reconcile it. And therefore you can know what the reconciled departure was all about. At least you'll know something about, what was involved in that. But you know this not in a thinking or movement of the mind kind of way, but experientially. That's a big word. And life is new from one moment to the next. This newness continues presenting itself before you, something similar to the way the still, changeless needle on an old-fashioned record player, though actually going nowhere, is able to witness and know the variety of changes arriving on the grooves of the vinyl record. It just stays in one place. And the record with all its presentations parades up before it. And from that place of non-movement and stillness, it knows something about the nature of that which is presented from its changeless place of balance. So with this spiritual exercise, you can know something about the nature of this ever-new presentation of life that would invite a turn away or a departure from the center. Creation and change, the stirring up of things in the world, they have directionality to them. There's left, right, up, down, front, back, and also center. When you set up the scale and abide as balanced, as all the variations and modifications of these directionalities continually present before you, you can find rest in choosing to abide in the midst of them. So now I'll tell you how practicing in this way relates to mystically praying the Rosary with or without beads. To pray the Rosary in this way, you will be setting up the equivalent of a scale. You will choose a point on each side of the body, and gathering those two or more points, you will know what is in the midst of them. You will rest between those points, and you will surf this place, the place between opposites, without leaning, as you pray the Rosary. The first established place of abiding, for this example we chose the sitting bones, is held to steadily, changelessly, as you gather two additional points, the Rosary hand positions, on both the right and the left hand. And my hands do shake a lot, so I'm not able to demonstrate it too well here, but each new beadless Rosary hand combination is gathered into the already established one place, for this example at the sitting bones, and is surfed as one center. So even though you gather not just two, but two or more points, all this is surfed as one center. You do not depart from that changeless place during all the Rosary hand positions, during all the transitions, and not just during all of the transitions of finger and hand Rosary positions, but during the prayers too. The forming of words, the rising and falling of the breath and of speech, and the places between sounds, syllables, and words, even the wetness and dryness of the words you form as you pray, There is a place between too wet and too dry also. So in other words, all the opposites of creation have a center, and you just abide in that center for this spiritual practice. All these sweet spots merge in the one place where you sit, and indeed you will find that they never departed from each other. And this is called abiding in me. The changeless place that you hold to and surf becomes as an offering table, and change and endless creation parade up, are weighed, measured, and reconciled. As it was in the beginning, it is now, and ever shall be. So with this information, you can enjoy finding yourself established in the place between opposites. You can find stillness in the midst of a changing world, and no longer be tossed to and fro by the parade of appearances that continually presents itself, holding to the one good thing in spite of the many and varied invitations of these presentations to go outward. Holding to the one good thing is the real meaning of devotion. You set up the scale, abide as yoked, holding to the one good thing, and surf the place between opposites with all your heart, might, mind, and strength. So this is done at first with effort, with all your heart, might, mind, and strength. And then you'll realize that that which you have held to with effort is not different than that which you already have and are without effort. And it is finished, because you are always you, inescapably at the ground zero of your own existence. And as the world of opposites presents itself, somehow across time, the one who practices in this way gets to participate in reconciliation of the world. And from the mystical Christian viewpoint, this could be somehow related to the obtaining of crowns, or the hoping for a better resurrection. That's a possibility, just a theory. But the thing is, because you are always you, inescapably at the ground zero of your own existence, as the world presents itself, it is reconciled and finds rest in the place that what? The place that doesn't overreact or underreact. The place that doesn't mismatch it, but welcomes the return of its prodigal expressions. The place that doesn't further stir up creation, but is actively searching the horizon through surfing, actively searching the horizon to bring back and reconcile the creation as it parades up and as it returns in the place that doesn't lean. So praying the Rosary in this mystical way, even though you have counted across the varied combinations of the fingers of both hands in the praying of the Rosary, you will find that you have remained as you were. In the midst of all the changing appearances of the world, you have neither come nor gone. You started in the place between opposites and remained there. And indeed, even the place you sat has been steady. all while experiencing the varieties and combinations of the Rosary hand placements and of surrounding presentations of creation itself. You can find rest and live life established in the place that doesn't miss the mark, the bullseye, the space between things. And it's helpful to pray the Rosary by counting on the spaces also that are between the finger segments. So it's helpful to count not so much on the finger, I better use this hand, on the finger segments themselves, but on the space between the finger segments. Because each change and every thumb placement can, when you count between things, between the segments, I better just read this the way it is. Each change and every thumb placement can be placed as if on a microcosm of the place between opposites. It works in this way. So each joint space can be seen as a space between things. In this way, it's a smaller version of the place between opposites in which you sit without leaning, and which you are surfing while you pray the Rosary on the fingers of the hands without rosary beads. Each contact and each finger position is prayed as being in the space between things. You have a place in the world, and that place is seen as a thing. Oh, let me rephrase that. You have a place in the world, and if that place is seen as a thing, it will be easy for you to be caught up in the world. But if you are abiding in the space between things, you can surf the balance point between opposites, between things, and remain ever untouched. So that space can be counted as having the value of 0, and each additional rosary hand position that's made is just another 0. And the countings of both hands begin, move, and arrive at the same time, surfing the changeless place. You maintain the first 2 points that you initially established, so for this beginning example at the sitting bones, and you do not bail from abiding in that place as you form the rosary hand positions on the hands, and rest evenly between the rosary hand placements. The addition of these additional 2 points does not form a second center, however. Remember, you had established the one at the sitting bones, and then you have gathered 2 more points. This doesn't establish a second center that you treat separately. It might seem that it should form a second place to rest, but it doesn't. And there's a verse that says, "Where 2 or more are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst of them." The words "or more" can point to the fact that it's possible to sample or gather more than just 2 points while abiding in the place, abiding in me. It's possible to gather more than just 2 points. It's important to learn to keep the energy sunk downward in the beginning, though, and that is why I always recommend using the sitting bones when you're first learning. In this way, you can become established in using relaxation rather than tension to abide in the center while keeping the energy relaxed downward. So there are many invitations to locationally miss the mark which present themselves from moment to moment. Invitations to no longer watch with me, but to turn outward into creation. Being able to choose instead the one good thing and abide there is to love me more than these, to love that which is always changelessly present at the center or the heart, more than any outward invitation to miss the mark. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, and lean not unto your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct thy paths. So there's, So I'm going to provide the link to the article showing the exact contact points on the fingers and the hands, and that's going to be found on my website. Just when you go to the website, just look for the article called How to Pray the Rosary Without Beads, using the fingers of your hands as landmarks. That's going to show you, using both hands, how to have a point on this side, how to have a point on this side, and then with with each unique sampling, just use the method which I introduced today to abide in and to surf the center. I do want to say, though, if you read the disclaimers, it's really important that I don't know if this technique's right for you, so I would say, for now, I'm just documenting this way of practice so it can be referred to later for whoever might come along and want to wonder how can I say this, how to mystically pray the Rosary. It's kind of just another rock to look under, because when you go through life, you'll be looking here and there and all over the place for information on how to spiritually practice, and this is really just another rock to look under, and some people might have the way to pursue this and practice it, but because it's not going to be right for everybody, just because of that, I have to give the disclaimer of don't try this on your own without proper training. And anyway, so check out my website, PrestonFlatt.com, and also be sure to like and subscribe to my videos. Thanks a lot. Bye.